Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. We still wait a few minutes until everybody is entering the live room. Thank you for joining us in this webinar, Tips for Working Virtually. Let us wait a few minutes. Please use the chat and let me know where you're from. People are entering the room now. And this webinar is about to begin. Let us begin. Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us in this power webinar, Tips for Working Virtually. I'm sure you and I will never forget this year, 2020. In the near future, 2020 will be written in history books as a year where the whole world suddenly stopped. Let us go back in time. 10 years ago, or maybe longer, can you still remember 10 years ago, we people, as organizations, as governments, had set all kinds of goals with deadlines for this year, 2020. Nobody in the world had seen this coming. Yes, maybe my uncle in Amsterdam, who is in finance. Last Christmas, he said, Maurice, be ready. March 2020 is the beginning of a financial crisis. I still don't get it, how he was able to predict this. Anyway, because the world is standing still, this not means that we as humans have to stand still. Do we? This is the best time to inspire and to motivate each other. Focus on your expertise, your passion, reach more people, share, give, support each other, and do not forget to pay it forward. That is why we organize these interactive free power webinars with the most inspiring people from around the world. For those who just joined, hello everyone. Thank you for being in this power webinar. My name is Maurice van der Kant, the host of this webinar, the CEO of Speakers Bureau Assemblée Speakers, and since last year, I am also the founder of bookingworldspeakers.com. Bookingworldspeakers.com is a community platform to share the stories of purpose-driven speakers worldwide in a much faster and easier way, with more people and with event organizers in particular. I mainly focus on mission-driven people, the speakers who are the story and who sincerely want to add value to people and society. With this in mind, we grow together an ecosystem, an environment in which we and even the speakers can continue to learn from and with one another. I believe that we only can create a better world when we do it together. A world with more confidence, more care for each other, more giving, and above all, more humanity. In short, less I, more we. In that world, I would like to live with my wife and children. I hope you do too. I think the last couple of years we are living in a sort of like identity crisis on a personal level and an organizational level. On personal level, I meet so many people who are looking for their own why, their own passion, their own purpose. And on organizational level, we are looking for new leaders. Is this year meant to be? I already said in the beginning, for those who now joined us, right now we really need each other. We can only get through this period if we do it together. And above all, support each other with what we are good at. Due to the coronavirus, not only the speakers and the event world are at a standstill, the whole world is at a standstill. Our goal today is to reach and inspire as many people as possible in the world. We want to motivate you, give a positive message from person to person. With the knowledge of our speakers, we want to offer you practical tools that will put you into action immediately. The world is standing still for a moment. This certainly does not mean that we as humans must stand still. As Darwin once said, it is not the strongest, the smartest, or the fastest, but the one that can best adapt to changing circumstances that survives. We are about to start. We can use the chat, private as well as messages in the living room. You can use the Q&A for your questions. Dima will pause during her presentation to answer your questions. When for the lack of time, Dima could not answer your question in the live webinar, she will be happy to answer your questions after the webinar. We will send you the answers within 24 hours. Do not forget to make notes. The webinar will be recorded and will be sent to you the next day. One last thing. When you have connection problems, please reconnect by clicking the reconnect button in the top of your screen. Finally, in the background, my colleague Kim will assist us and help you as well. Now it's time. Let me invite Dima now in the live room. Please welcome Dima Ghawi. Unfortunately, we do not see you as attendee, but still, please give her a big hand from behind your screen. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when I met Dima in a Zoom call, when she was sharing her life story about transforming her fear into power, her motivating story about resilience. I was directly engaged and inspired. I have already learned a lot from you. For those who still not have watched a Goldcast video with over 93,000 views, and just before the start of the webinar, she told me on Facebook over 65 million views, please watch that Goldcast video. Not now, please. Please watch it after the webinar. Dima Ghawi has 2 decades of corporate experience, leading virtual global teams and developing future leaders worldwide. She has worked across the United States, Europe, Asia, Middle East, and Africa for several Fortune 100 companies, including IBM, Merrill Lynch, and Intuit. Through keynote speeches, workshops, and executive coaching, she has empowered thousands of professionals across the globe to develop critical business skills and expand their potential. She uses her personal experience to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to rise in leadership. As a bonus, in this webinar, in the Power webinar, we are not only going to inspire you with tips and strategies for working virtually. If you are interested, at the end of the webinar, Dima makes time to answer also your questions around the topics, how to turn your fears into strength and how to take your fate into your own hands. We are very happy to have you in this webinar, Dima.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be with you. I hope you and your family is doing well and you are surviving this time. So as we start, I encourage you to engage with us. I encourage you to ask questions and to comment. It's better for everybody when we hear from you as well. As you recognize, I speak English, so I ask that you enter your comments and your questions in English, please. So as we're starting, I want to ask you to add a comment and tell us, how do you currently feel at the moment? Are you hopeful? Are you excited? Are you uncertain? So go ahead and let's get some words of how you feel at the moment.
Dima, tell us where you're calling from.
Oh, hello. Okay, so I am in California, in San Diego. So if you see behind me, it's still dark, but the best part of this webinar is we're going to have the sunrise. So hopefully it's going to be a clear day so you can see the sun rising in California. And right now it is 6 a.m. my time, but I'm still filled with energy.
Great.
Okay, so as you're typing this, I'm not seeing a lot. Remember, we want you to engage. I'll go ahead and encourage you for one more second, and then I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. Let's go ahead and start. So as we all know, we're going to be talking about how to manage virtual teams. A lot of organizations did not have their teams work virtually. And overnight, because of the coronavirus, they were forced to have their entire organization work from home. And this is globally, it's affecting everybody. So that's why Maurice and I were talking, and we felt that this is a very important topic to provide to you, to help you as you are working virtually and also as you're managing your teams virtually. Many managers, when they think of their teams working from home, they mainly think of someone like this guy who looks like he's dressed for the role, but he's playing or he's on vacation and he's totally not focused. And I know a lot of people may take advantage of the situation, and that's why building trust is so important for the manager to trust the employees they're doing a good job. And we're going to talk about how to monitor their progress, especially now since we don't see them walking in the office and leaving the office. So we'll talk about how to do that. And then we need the employees to do a great job and, of course, to continue to build trust with their manager. So now I want to encourage you to, we're going to answer a poll. And from your experience, do you have any experience working virtually? And I'm going to activate actually the poll. So let's see if we can do it this way. So if you can go ahead and answer, do you have experience working virtually? And I'm going to give you 20 seconds for that. Oh, wow. So the majority, we're so lucky here. The majority of people that are attending, they have experience. Usually it's very different. So now let me ask you we'll do another poll. And the next one is, do you prefer to work virtually in the office or a mix of both? So it looks like the winner is the mix of both. And I agree with you, me too. I like the flexibility to go, to choose if I want to be working from home or the office. So that's amazing. And obviously with what we're experiencing right now, we're going to see more and more organizations allowing their teams after the coronavirus to be able to work from home. So that's why it's so important for us to know how to manage teams virtually. Okay, so based on SHRM, that's the Society of Human Resources Management, they did a survey and they found that 66% of multinationals and half of all organizations, they use virtual teams to boost productivity while saving time and lowering travel costs. And this was before to 2020. So imagine now how much more this percentage is going to go up. So now I have one more question, and then we'll dig into details. What are some of the main challenges that you face when you are managing virtual teams? So answer this, and we'll dig into the presentation. Okay, you can do it. I know you can do it. Since you already work virtually, what are some of the challenges you face as a manager? Okay, I guess you're still not awake. So let me go, and I encourage you to keep entering, and I'll check it later as well. So I'll share with you some of the challenges your employees face, which is absolutely similar to what you face as well. It affects the relationships. It's not as easy working virtually and continuing to build relationships. There's something about being in person and engaging with people and talking with them. It helps with relationships. It helps with trust. Difficulty building trust. So yeah, so that's why we're lucky right now that we get to see other people with tools like Webinar Jam or Zoom that I use all the time. But I remember when I first started working virtually, it was in 2004, and I was working for IBM at that time, managing global teams, and we were not allowed to use anything like Skype. I don't think even Zoom existed. I need to check when it's even started. So it was really tough because we had to work with team members from all around the world, different accents, different cultures, and we never really knew how they looked like other than the picture they put in the intranet. So it's tough. And then it creates a sense of disconnection from the leadership team. That's why being an effective leader is more important than ever. And we're going to talk about how to be a very effective leader during this time and in general when you're working virtually. The effect on career development. Absolutely. So many people, they're concerned that if they're working from home, that's going to affect their career advancement. So we have in the US a phrase that says, out of sight, out of mind. So when the manager is not seeing the employee, they're worried that they're not going to think of them when the promotion time happens. The adapting to new technologies. So imagine within your world, your team, how many people have been resisting the new technologies of working virtually for many, many years, and now they had to learn it overnight. So that's a challenge. And then boredom of working from home, of course, because we love the interaction. And I realize there's two kinds of people. There are individuals that absolutely love it. They enjoy working from home. They're comfortable. They get their work done. Other people that feed off of the energy of interacting and networking, it's tough for them and they get very bored. So many distractions. Tell me, like, what kind of distractions you face? In my situation right now, it is constantly checking the news, checking CNN, worrying about what's going on in the world. So it's difficult sometimes, especially now, to concentrate because of all the distractions that are happening. And then separating work from home from work, because imagine, like, when we're working from home, it's not like there's set hours where we go to work and we leave. It's all mixed together, and that becomes a big challenge. So do you remember this interview? This was about 2 years ago. It's a BBC interview, and then his kids walked in while he was in the interview, and everybody thought it was so hilarious. It went viral. We never expected that our life is going to look similar to this 2 years later. So many parents, they're home, and it's not a matter of just working virtually. So many people now have to work virtually, take care of the kids, In the US, we're doing a lot of homeschooling. So it's becoming so tough for individuals to really focus. And of course, we need to address all of this. She is the CEO of Spanx, and she posted this on LinkedIn, which I thought is hilarious. A picture of herself, imagine a CEO working in her closet because she wanted to run away from her kids and try to get some quiet time. So this is what people are facing right now, and we need to be aware of it because definitely it's going to affect the productivity, and that's why we need to be aware as managers what our teams are dealing with and work with them accordingly. Well, I guess this woman found a trick. I'm not recommending it at all. That's child abuse. But look at her. She's in so much peace and she is getting work done. Again, I'm not recommending it. I just think it is a lot of fun. So now what so here, the role of the manager as right now is more important than ever because your teams, they're worried about their family, their health, they're worried about their jobs. So many organizations are laying off employees. So that's why we need to be aware of this as we start the discussion of what you need to do. And the most important word that I want you to leave with today is the word intentional. We need to be intentional in everything we're doing to ensure that we're taking care of our team and we're being intentional in being great leaders. So let's share what we need to do. I encourage you to get a piece of paper and to draw 3 columns because we're going to be talking about 3 things. The first one is connecting with your team members. And what I mean by that is to have one-on-one with each team member on a weekly basis. Your team right now, they need you more than ever. And I know a lot of managers, they may have a big team and this may sound overwhelming for them. So just meet with each one for 10 minutes a week. It doesn't matter how long as you're having some space, some time with each one of the team members. Because right now, many of them are feeling isolated, they're worried, they're everything we talked about initially. So you need to be able to connect with them, you need to listen to their challenges and be able to be there as a manager. And I recognize right now, it's difficult to track progress of the projects. And that's why so many managers for years resisted for their team members to work from home. So here's something I used to use. It's the simplest tool ever. But as I managed my team with IBM, this is the one I used. So it's an Excel document, and I'm more than happy to share it with anyone who's interested in getting it in an Excel document. All you have to do is either email Maurice or myself, and we'll share it with you. So what I would ask them to do is to list the main projects they're working on. Your team may have 17 main projects, so you just add rows for each one. And then the secondary ones that are not as important right now. I asked my team to list the projects, to tell me when they started working on them, when they are projecting for them to be completed, what is the status, who they're working with, any challenges or dependencies, so this way I can support them, and any comments. So this one, I would ask them to complete it and email it to me the day before our one-on-one, which was weekly basis. And for the ones that I couldn't talk to that week, I asked them to send it to me at the end of the week on Friday. As you realize, this is such a simple tool, but the best thing about it, it allows everybody to be on the same page and understand what we are working on. It helped me as a manager to understand the workload, so this way I wouldn't keep giving more projects to individuals that are already busy. This one saved me because in my first management role as a global manager, the team leader that was reporting to me, she would always tell me how busy she was, constantly, always busy. And she would complain that she doesn't even have time to take her son to the dentist. And I was so worried about her because she made herself sound really, really busy. So I would ask her to complete this tracking sheet, and she would refuse week after week after week. She would do everything to not complete it. And finally she did. And it turned out she was really not busy. She was just trying to take advantage of the situation. She was most likely working 10 hours maximum per week. So Obviously, this tracking sheet saved me, and it will save you and your team because they need to know that you're aware of the projects they're working on. So yeah, it turns everything from just being hours, the 8 to 5 or the 9 to 5 work hours, to a more, it's a focus on results oriented, which is so important. If you would like to get this tracking sheet, just email me at dima@dima@dimaghawi.com, or just reach out to Maurice. Also, I will share it with him. So here, this is a quote by Khalil Gibran that I love, and I think all managers, we need to be aware of this. He says, the reality of the other person lies not in what he reveals, but what he cannot reveal to you. Therefore, if you would understand him, listen not to what he says, but rather to what he does not say. And as managers, we need to be aware of that, because our teams, especially now, they may not really tell us what they are experiencing. They're afraid for their jobs. They're afraid if they tell us that they would be on a list to be let go. So that's why, as a manager, we need to be truly listening to what they're experiencing. We need to understand where they are and help them, because they need a lot of help right now. So think about this and how it applies in your life. What can you do to listen more between the lines instead of the specific words that the teams are saying? So yeah, so now the first one, as I mentioned, is to connect with your team members. Make sure you have one-on-one with them. As we discussed, make sure you're tracking their progress. Many times, your employees right now, they like, especially now since they're home, their family is at home, they have kids screaming in the background, work with them to see if you can adjust their work hours. I know a lot of organizations, instead of having their team work Monday through Friday, they're having them work all week long, 7 days, but less hours per day. And this helps a lot of parents. I know also some organizations, what they're doing is, if the individual is willing to wake up early, let's say work from 6 to 10 in the morning and then more hours at night, as long as they finish, let's say, their 8 hours, they're allowing them to do that. So work with your team, be adaptable, especially during this time. It's not going to last forever, but right now our team, they need to feel that we are there to support them and we're adapting and adjusting things to help them. So now the second connection point, so this is your second column, it is connecting your team with the corporate strategy. What happens when we're working virtually, many team members, they end up doing their job and they're logging it off, and they don't really stay in touch with what's going on with the bigger organization. In order for your team to feel a sense of purpose and meaning in what they're working on, they need to understand how they're contributing to the bottom line. This is so important for them. So think about, what do you need to do to help them with this? Maybe in the department meeting, you give them updates of what's happening. It's not a matter of just emailing them an article and saying, read it. I believe they need to hear from you, regardless what level of leadership you're at. So think about this and how can you keep your team connected with the corporate strategy. Here are some thoughts. So communicate the strategy and goals. And maybe it's not changing much recently, but there's a lot of things happening. So make sure your team is up to date. Help them understand how their work is contributing to the company's success. That's essential. Share news about good things that the community is doing. So think about, your company is doing for the community. So right now, let's say your company is donating PPEs for the doctors, or they're helping do something during the COVID-19. So make sure your team know about this. And this is going to be huge based on the generation. So if you have team members that are more millennials or Gen Z, so anyone who's 38 and younger, this is going to mean so much to them. They don't want to just work for a company that focuses on the bottom line. They want to see, they want to hear, they want to be part of an organization that is helping the community and helping the world. So think about that. And I know some companies right now, they may have major cost cuts and they're not doing this. So that's why you would need to be creative to ensure to help your team understand what's going on with the company and how they're contributing. So now that's the second column. The third one is connecting your team members with each other. Whenever I do surveys or work with team members that transition into virtual environment, I always ask them, what do they miss the most? And usually the first thing they say is they miss their team. They miss the water cooler time. They miss going to go to lunch or to have happy hour in person with their team. So that's why when we're working virtually, we need to be so intentional to create that sense, not to have them feel disconnected. I know a lot of teams, they're creating coffee time in the morning. So like a check-in for 5 minutes where team members are drinking coffee and talking with each other, which is great. Some organizations, they're having happy hours, virtual happy hours on Fridays. If you're doing that, that's good. It doesn't have to be long. It could be maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes just to make sure that the team feel connected, especially during this time. So here are, so before I go to the weekly checklist, with the team members, connecting them with each other, I'm going to share with you shortly in the next few slides some ideas that you can use that are so simple, and most of them don't cost money, that you can do to keep engaging the team and bringing them together. So this is coming up shortly. And I know as humans, we need a checklist. We don't want just someone to tell us do this or do that. It's better when we have a checklist where we can print it on a weekly basis and have a check mark that we completed it. So I mentioned earlier, the one word that I want you to leave with is being intentional. So in order for you to be intentional, you would need a checklist. So here are the things we talked about. The first one is connecting the team members with each other. These are the items we talked about. So this way you print it and you make sure you completed it on a weekly basis. The same thing, connecting the team with a corporate strategy and connecting the team members together. And also, if you want this checklist, just email Maurice or myself and we'll send it to you. You can add your own items to it as well. But what most important is for you to really track what you're doing and what you are not doing so you can focus on it the following week. So now, before I move forward, I'm going to pause and I want to see what questions you have. After this, we're going to talk about how to motivate the team. We're going to talk about meetings and other things. But for now, I want to see what are some of your thoughts? What are some of your questions? Anything you agree or disagree with up to here?
Dima, Monique is asking you, is a specific order in the priority 1, 2, 3?
Can you, in the tracking sheet?
Yeah.
So there's no priority. I think all of them are important. It is so important for you to connect with your team. It's important for you to make sure they understand the bigger vision, and it's important to connect them with each other. So honestly, Monique, I wouldn't say there's anyone that's more important than others. All of them are important. And that's why as a manager, you need to be so intentional in taking care of the three. Because imagine if you're connected with the team and they don't understand how their work is contributing to the bottom line, that's not good. If their team feel isolated from each other, that's not good. So to me, these are the absolute essential glue to bring the team together, to keep them motivated, and to get them working. Did that help?
What is the most difficult in your experience? That's another question.
Oh, yeah. So the most difficult in my experience is to keep the team aware of how their work contributes to the bottom line. It's easy to meet with the team and stay connected with them. It's easy to bring them together and have them talk, but it's not easy really to go and help each one of the team members understand that as a department, what we are doing to help the bottom line, why is our work important. There are some projects and some tasks that is not easy to align it to the bottom line. And that's why the manager needs to be so creative on how this is being communicated. This was my challenge when I was a manager, is constantly helping the team see the bigger vision.
Other questions?
Yeah.
Just please feel free to ask them in the chat or Q&A.
Yes.
Better. My good old friend, 𝒔𝒔𝒆𝒆, how to listen to your team members between the lines?
Oh, that's such a good question. So, so sometimes, tell me if this applies to you, where you would get on a call or you're having a meeting similar to this, and you're asking the team, "How are you doing?" And the team would be like, "We're great." Well, that didn't sound great. So this is just an example where you're like, "Are you sure you're doing great?" So mainly to listen to their voice, because many times we're so busy, we're focused on getting to work, and we're really not being intentional to hear their voice or to see their body language. What is what is the body language telling us? And honestly, when you think about it, a lot of the tips that I'm sharing with you right now, they apply when you are in person or you are virtual. As a manager, I need to listen to the voice of my team. I need to see their body language and see, is it aligned with what they're telling me? I want to see their facial expressions. But the tricky thing is when we're virtual, it becomes even more important because, again, we're disconnected and we need to find ways to connect more and more with the team. And these are some of the things that would help us. So listen to the voice and listen to the body language, and also see, is it aligned with what your team are telling you? If you're hearing one thing and you're seeing something else, then it's telling you that the team member is not being honest with you.
I have a question to Dima. Yeah. Is there a specific time on a day to engage with your team members? Is it the morning, the afternoon? No.
It depends on the team. So some teams, they're so busy Monday through Thursday, and Friday it slows down a little. And that was my team's situation. So what I would do is meet with them on Friday, because I know it is slower day, and this way I can be focused and I can be more present with them. So the managers, they need to figure out, how is your work schedule? How is your team schedule? So let's say the busiest part of the day is the morning. The last thing you want is to go and schedule a one-on-one in the morning. Let them work. Instead, schedule it in the afternoon. So find the time where it is slower a little, so you both would be able to focus. Because here's the challenge that I find. A lot of managers, they schedule the one-on-one and they keep moving it. So they get busy and they reschedule and they reschedule. And this becomes a message to your team that they're not a priority. And the last thing you want is for them to feel that way. And of course, it doesn't mean that every meeting you're going to have and you cannot reschedule, but you just need to make sure that it's not a pattern that's happening all the time.
I always try to send the email out to my team the evening before and start the day with an engagement and just make it clear. Egbert, also, how do you organize brainstorm sessions with larger groups?
So tell me your specific question. So is it like how you bring them together, because I can go into details, like you're inviting the right people, you ensure you're sending them the agenda ahead of time, you focus on what is the objective of your brainstorm session. So as a person managing this, you need to be very clear what you want to get out of it, and you communicate this to them ahead of time. Then during the brainstorm session, you're bringing everybody together, make sure that everybody understands who is attending and what is the purpose, and you get to talk about it, and you have meeting minutes. So this is so high level, and it would be helpful if you tell me specifically what your question is, because if you want it high level, I can give you more information with the high level. I just don't want to I want to make sure I'm giving you exactly what you're looking for. So can you provide more details?
Oh, we have to wait, or we include Egbert in the call, then he can explain it with a voice. That's also possible. But
yeah, absolutely.
Shall we go on to the next part, and then when Egbert...
and then if we get more specifics in the next break, I will answer it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Great. So I'm going to go here. So how to manage virtual teams. And I'm very pleased to see that a lot of you already work virtually. Many times when I give this webinar, very few people have worked virtually before. So this applies to them. It may not apply to you as much. So you need to make sure they have the right tools. And many teams, even though now it's been almost like a month and a half, we've been working virtually, you'll be surprised that a lot of teams, they still don't know what tools they should use. And if you're one of those, I have additional information for you right now that you can copy. The second one is make sure you're creating a department meeting and you address all the team's questions. I know it's been, again, a month and a half, but if you haven't done it, ensure you do that. You bring them together and you answer all their questions about what's going on right now. A lot of team members have a lot of questions. And I realize that it is not comfortable conversation. It depends on your department, on your company, and their plans of what they're going to do. So some manager may be avoiding this, but it's hard to build trust and keep your team motivated if they feel that there's something hidden. And then set expectations. When I talk with managers, some of them complain that their teams, they're not working specific hours or they're not happy with their performance. That's why it is so important that you set expectations up front of what you want them to do. If there's certain hours you want them to work, communicate that. If there's certain response time you would want, like if you send an email within, like, let's say 24 hours, you want a response, or 12 hours, make sure you communicate it. Many times when managers are not happy, at the end of the day, it turns out that they're really not setting expectations and they're not communicating these expectations with their team. And then reduce unnecessary meetings. So I realize many teams, when they go virtual, the first thing that happens is they start setting so many meetings, so many calls, so many emails, because managers, they want to compensate for being in person and they want to make sure that everybody is getting the work done. That's the last thing we need. And I'm not saying don't schedule meetings, but you need to think about, what is the purpose of the meeting? Can it be a chat where you send an instant message to your team? Can it be a quick phone call instead of really holding the team busy all day long with meetings? And then at night they have to do work. I used to call my day, my day shift, because that's when I would be in meetings all day. And then my night is the night shift, because that's truly when I used to get work done. And it was so exhausting and not sustainable to constantly keep going or try to multitask, which we all know it doesn't work well. So think about it. Think about what you need to do to reduce meetings. So for anyone who doesn't have tools yet, make sure to research some of these tools. The one that I didn't list here that everybody loves is Microsoft Teams. So look into that and see which one of these tools makes sense to you. Microsoft Teams has all the video, the instant messaging, the document storage, all of these things. So this way you get it in one. If for some reason you want to explore some others, these are some. So go ahead and take a screenshot. If you would like a copy of this, again, just email Maurice or myself and we'll send it to you. So now let's talk about how to motivate virtual teams. So I'll give you some ideas, but I would love to hear from you of what you are doing to motivate your team as well, because that would be so interesting. So let me tell you how you can motivate them with pizza. So one of my coworkers, a manager, and that was many years ago. That was like at least 10 years ago. He was such a great manager. He was based in France, and his team were global, all around the world. One of his team members was so busy at the end of a quarter because they were doing a lot of manufacturing for IBM. So if you're in manufacturing, you know, end of quarter, end of year is such a stressful time. So end of a quarter, a team member was so busy and he kept working day and night, and he did not have time to spend with his team. The manager remembered that in one of their one-on-ones, that team member mentioned to him about a pizza place that he likes that's close to his home. So what the manager did is he called the pizza place, ordered pizza, and had it delivered to the home of the employee, so he would have a break and have dinner with his family. Can you imagine like how powerful simple thing like this? Because first, it showed the employee that the manager was listening when he told him about the pizza place, but also it showed a whole level of appreciation. I don't know if the manager even expensed this or if he paid it out of pocket, but at the end of the day, that employee would do anything to continue to support the manager and be an effective team player. So again, that's my favorite story. So here are some virtual activities that you can do. Virtual team lunch. So you bring the team together virtually and you have them have lunch together. But the best part about this is you encourage them to order their lunch from a local restaurant. Depending, of course, on where you're living. In the US, we still have restaurants open and they deliver. You can't go eat there, but they can deliver the food to you. So you encourage them to order it from a local restaurant. So this way they feel that they're supporting the community. But the best part is you find a way to expense it and to pay them back for the lunch. So again, it depends on how big your team is and what is your budget and if you can do that. But this is so powerful in my idea because you're bringing them together. They feel that they're contributing to the community, to local restaurants, and they feel that the manager and the organization cares about the community and they're spending money. The next one is check-in. So remember at the beginning of our webinar, remember I said, how are you feeling? Enter some of the messages or comments of how you feel. Remember I said hopeful, energized, or in many situations right now, like scared. So that's something good for you to do at the beginning of a department meeting, to have a check-in. So you get a feel, you get a pulse of how your team members are feeling right now. And that is so powerful. The next one is a tour of their workspace. A lot of people, especially if your team is playful, they want to see where their team members, their other team members are working. So you give them either a little video tour or a picture, and I'll show you how it looks like very shortly. So this way they can see their other team members, where they're working, how their desk looks like, and they can, a lot of people like that. And then I heard this recently, which is hilarious, is to do a virtual meeting, bring all the team together and invite the children of the team members. If team members don't have children, have them have the pets. But the best part about this is you have the children share with everybody what they think their parent does at work. So, and it doesn't have to be like every week. Imagine if you do it just one time, half an hour, bringing the team together, bringing their children. It's just creating a sense of excitement. And this is what everybody is hungry for right now. So this is some pictures from people I follow on Facebook that I think they do a great job. So if you see the team members, they're ordering food from local restaurants, they're taking picture of themselves, and they're all sharing it on social media together. This is a picture of the workspace. Remember, I told you whether it is a short video or a picture. So here you see their workspace. So this way other people see what where their team members are working. This one is hilarious. I saw it on social media. You may have seen it too. And I think people are going so funny with all of this, where you can invite a llama or a goat to your team meeting and it costs like $100, which is so hilarious. So again, it depends on how serious your team is. Some teams would not be okay with this. Others would absolutely love it. So this way we're helping the farmers as well. So now I want to hear from you. What are you doing to motivate your virtual team? In addition to some of the things I mentioned, it would be great for us to learn from each other. What are you doing? And I'll give you a few seconds to go ahead and type. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments. I wonder from my side if I see it. Yeah, happy hour. Great. I'm glad, Monique, you like the ideas. That's great. Be creative, make it fun. Because again, we all need more engagement right now. Monique, you're sending small presents. That's great. That's such a good idea. I heard of a manager that's writing short notes, very short, and sending it in the mail, telling her team members how much she appreciates them. We need it right now. We did the check-in. I'm glad you like that. And then virtual workplace tour. That's wonderful. Lunch. Yes, lunch is a great idea, especially if you have the budget. If you don't have the budget, just encourage them to order it locally and brag to the other team members where they get their lunch from. Very good. Okay, I love it. So it sounds like you're doing something. I know in Louisiana, here in the US, we are so famous with music and bands and jazz. So one of the things they're doing for our Arts Council is for any company that wants to invite a musician to their department meeting, you can contact them. And honestly, if you're interested, let me know, I'll connect you. You can contact them and they would give you options of different musicians in Louisiana. And then the price is very affordable where you can invite them to your department meeting and you have them sing some jazz for the team. So this would be fun. And of course, it depends on what is your budget during this time.
Dima, before we go on, Egbert, coming back with the question of Egbert, I'd like to know how to make sure everybody contributes in an equal way.
And that is for the brainstorming?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. This is such a good idea because I agree with you. Sometimes when you're having brainstorming sessions, whether it's virtual or whether it is in person, you find some people that talk a lot, but you also have some people that are quiet and they're not sharing as much. So they're the extroverts, they're speaking, they want to be heard. And the introverts that really have the deep thoughts, they tend to be quiet. That's why as a leader, you need first to give them opportunity to all contribute. You need, if somebody is quiet, you ask them, like, for example, Maurice, what do you think about this? Can you share with us some of your thoughts? So this way, if you're finding someone who's quiet, you address them and you encourage them to contribute. If you have somebody speaking a lot, you would be like, wow, thank you, Mary. This is a great idea. Let's give some chance to some other people to contribute. So this way, you're also going around the room is so important where you would say, okay, we're going to pause and we're going to go around the room and I want to hear from each one of you, what are your thoughts or what are some of the ideas that you have. So this is so important. And I have to share with you a story that happened recently. One of my coaching clients, she is so smart, amazingly smart. And she was in a meeting, she's a banker. So she was in a meeting and they were talking about fraud that the bank was experiencing. They're doing this brainstorming session and she stayed quiet the entire time, even though she had, according to what she told me, she had a really good idea, but she felt uncomfortable to share it with the rest of the group because she was worried that her idea was not as good as she thought. So everybody brainstormed, they talked, and the meeting finally ended after an hour and she did not share with anybody what she was feeling. So I'm sure a lot of us have seen this where some people are so quiet, but we don't realize that they may have really, really good ideas. That's why going around the room, encouraging everybody. So you'll be like, okay, we're going to start with you. You go around the room and have everybody talk a little. Everybody share some of your thoughts. And you also say that there's no bad ideas. This is our time to put everything on the table. Let's discuss. Let's bring all of these thoughts. So for anyone like my coaching client who may feel shy, who may feel intimidated, that helps them. That would encourage them to speak instead of being quiet. I hope this helps. And for anyone, I see some need to go to other appointments. Well, this is recorded, so hopefully you'll go back and you'll listen to the end of it.
Yeah. Another question I could. Team members want to see more servant leadership abilities, to my feeling, from their managers. Could you please tell me some words about servant leadership abilities?
Yes, servant leadership is so important, whether we are in person or whether we're virtual. Virtual, it becomes so even beyond important. And servant leadership is for the team to trust that the manager is there to serve them. Because think about it, how many of you know of managers that just want to climb to the next level? They want to be promoted, they want the next raise. And they're putting their team to work, but you can feel that the manager's focus is not the individual team members. So servant leadership is for the leader or the manager, that the ones that focus on the team, the ones that focus on their career growth, the ones that can really hear if they're facing challenges without you even telling it to them, because they're putting the team first instead of themselves first. So this is when we talk about your leading by example. That is so important, because in order for you to do a great job, your manager or you as a manager, you need to do a great job, be accessible, help the team, and not put yourself first. There's, like I always say it, in order to rise as a manager, you need to lift your team first, and everybody would be lifted all together.
Last question before we go on. I think it's a very good question. How long can we be sharp online during a working day? Is that different from working offline? Should the manager take this into account?
Yeah, I missed the first part. Can you repeat the first sentence?
How long can we be sharp online during a working day?
Yeah, it's tough. So you mean like productive, right? Is that what you mean by sharp? Yes, it is. It's really tough, especially when you're having back-to-back meetings and Zoom meetings. So whether we are in person or over Zoom or over webinar, we need to give ourselves breaks, because as humans, we cannot just go 8 hours, one meeting after another. So we need to be intentional to give ourselves breaks. And then we also need to be focused on, do we need to have certain meetings at the time that we're more productive? So think about it. In my situation, I like to work at night. That's when my brain works the best. So I block time to not have meetings. Obviously, I'm not having meetings at night. But some people, they're very focused in the morning. Some people are more focused in the afternoon. So you block that time from any meetings and you focus on getting your important strategic tasks completed. So again, like, there's no separation whether you are working virtually or you're in the office. When you're productive, and it is being smart of when you're having meetings, when you're dedicating time to work, and ensuring that you're not in back-to-back meetings, because there's no way for you to be productive if you do that.
Okay, let's proceed, Dima.
Okay, that's wonderful. And as Maurice mentioned, if you have more questions, please email us, and I can do a short video and address everybody's additional questions. So don't feel that when we're done right now that this is done. So when I think of leadership, and this is, I have 2 minutes, let me say one quick thing. As managers, it feels right now that we are in a turbulence. There's in the sky, there's so much uncertainty, but our team, they need to feel that we're connected with them. Our team, they need to feel that we're capable. It doesn't mean that we have all the answers, because we don't, but as if we're the pilot of this aircraft in a major storm, and this is where we're living. So make sure you're connected with the team, talk to them, have them address their challenges, be flexible with their time, continue to communicate to them. That is so important. So I'll put this, I wish we had more time, but I'll put this for you to take a screenshot of. But these are some of the things that I recommend for you to do. Listen, set expectations, be adaptable, provide support, lead by example. It's a lot of the things that we've been talking about. And I know it is tough because we have so much stuff going on, but as a manager, it's definitely so essential for us to be our best right now. So as we are concluding, I want to go here, and I would love to hear some of your takeaways from this. So let's take a few seconds. I would love to hear some of the things you learned from this webinar. Again, any additional questions you have, just enter them and we'll respond to them. This is my contact information too. So for anyone who has more questions, reach out to Maurice, reach out to me. We'll respond to you. I always, anytime I give a presentation, I give an hour coaching session with me. So for anyone who would like to win it, all you have to do is go to this link, enter your name and your email address, and I'll select one. I'll share it with Maurice, a person who gets a coaching session. We can talk about your leadership style. We can talk about some of the challenges you may be having in your career. And I am putting together a lot of blogs that I'm working on right now for how to effectively work and to manage virtual teams. So if you're interested, send me an email or send Maurice an email, and we'll make sure as soon as these blogs are completed that we would share them with you. Again, it was such a pleasure presenting to you today. And now I guess we may have like a few seconds for any final questions.
Yeah, for sure. And we can ask you all kind of questions also about your life story, of course. Yep. Maybe Robert Benninger has a question. In my meeting, offline and online, 1 hour is 50 minutes. And after 45 minutes, we do the traffic light. Next time, what do we stop, continue, and start?
That's so powerful. Yes. I like it because we always look for ways to improve. So you're looking for ways to, what are you going to continue to do, which is your green? What are you going to stop, which is like wasting people's time or yeah, like it's taking productivity away? And what are you going to start doing? So that is so powerful. And I love the traffic light concept. I use it in all my strategic meetings. So it's wonderful.
Next question, how do we act when you are feeling disconnected yourself?
I know, isn't that hard? Yes. So it is very difficult to be a manager right now because you have to take care of your team, but also you need to take care of yourself. So if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling your energy is low, maybe you're depressed, you're worried about your well-being, you're worried about what you have to experience, it's really, really tough. So I get it. I also realize that it is our responsibility to take care of our team. So that's why make sure you're speaking with friends. Maybe you need to go get a counselor. There's a lot of virtual counselors right now. So you're not going to be able to fill other people's cups if your cup is empty. So think about what do you need to do to start feeling more connected? What can you do to help yourself? Because your energy is not just helping you, it's going to be contagious. It's going to help your team as well. But I feel your pain. We're all right now experiencing feeling low, feeling disconnected, sometimes even not wanting to work because we're just so worried and a lot of distractions around us. So yeah, my advice, take care of yourself, get help. Get help, get help. And the help could be talking to a friend, to a family member, maybe talking to your manager, assuming you have good relationship with the manager, and also get counseling. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a blessing that we can do that.
Well, some other question, maybe you would like to tell the attendees your life story a bit?
Sure, yeah. So many times people, when they hear me present, they don't know where I started. So so for anyone who has time, we're doing a bonus 30, not 30, we're doing 15-minute bonus. And we're also going to do some additional webinars to help you during this time. I realize, as we heard earlier, if a person feels disconnected or low, so the future ones are going to help you have to see a light at the end of the tunnel, because that's where we're missing right now. So for anyone who heard my accent, definitely this is not an American way of speaking. I am originally from the Middle East. I was raised in Jordan. And my background, I talked about it in a TEDx in the US, and it was mainly being raised as a Middle Eastern woman. As a little girl, I was playing with my grandmother in her kitchen, and we were arranging flowers in a glass vase. My grandmother held the glass vase, and she said, "Do you see this perfect glass vase?" A girl is just like it. If it gets cracked for any reason, you can never fix it. You can never glue it back. And that's the one we throw in the trash. So what my grandmother meant, that as a woman, I have to be perfect. I have to follow and obey and continue to do what is expected of me. So think about it, like, how would I develop leadership skills and discover my identity if all I have to do is continue to please everybody around me and live a life that I was not, that I didn't want to live? But as a little girl, I was observing everybody around me, and it's so challenging to see everybody losing their identity, losing their self, just to please everyone else around them, as if everyone was walking around with a mask, trying to act as if they have a perfect glass vase. So I followed, obeyed, and did everything they expected of me. I got engaged so young through a family introduction. When I was 19, we got married when I was 20, and we moved to the US. And even though we moved to the US, I thought hopefully my vase would stay away from me in the Middle East, but it was magically transformed, as if it was overnight shipped from Jordan to San Diego, where I am right now. And I was expected to continue to follow and obey. So it's just so tricky how many times we have to live situations that we don't choose. And it is painful. It's hard. In my situation, I was early 20 and I was stuck. I couldn't stay in that marriage. I couldn't leave either. That marriage was not healthy at all. It was so abusive. But again, like I was taught to not be a leader. I was taught to follow and obey. So my highlight is I got into depression. So that's why I can connect with people who go through difficult time, because many times when we feel that we have no hope, that things will not get better, that's when we become disconnected and we become depressed. And my depression, in my opinion, was the best thing ever, because that's when I realized that I actually have a choice. Even though I was told that I don't, I have a choice. We all have a choice. And I ended up packing and escaping. I literally escaped. So at that time, I was 24. Imagine 24, barely making enough money and having no support, because in my situation, my family all turned against me. And now it's been 19 years later, and I still face death threats from my father. So in the Middle East, especially in my community, any daughter that does something that the father or the brother or the uncle disagrees with, they just kill her, and they feel that they're bringing the honor back. The only reason I'm alive is I'm here in the US and I'm safe, and my father is in Jordan and he doesn't speak English, so he couldn't figure out how to get me. So of course the story is so much more complicated. That's the one that Maurice mentioned. It has millions of views of Goldcast on Facebook and so many on YouTube, because people need to realize that we have a choice. Even sometimes when there are horrible consequences, like in my situation, we have a choice. And if there's no light at the end of the tunnel, we create the light. We walk towards it. Right now, when I look at so many people feeling helpless and losing their jobs and losing family members and worried about their health, we're stuck. Many times we may feel that we have no choice, but we don't realize that we do. Our choice is, what can we do to help? Our choice is, what can we do to build a vision for our lives? Once this is done, it's not going to last forever. What can we do to help other people? So in my situation, once all of this was done and I escaped and I was dealing with death threats, I started focusing on my education, because in the Middle East, we have a phrase that says, knowledge is light and ignorance is darkness. So I'll say it in Arabic for anyone who understands Arabic. Al-ilmu nur wal-jahlu dhalam. So again, knowledge is light and ignorance is darkness. When we're aware, when we're educated, when we're self-aware, that's when we start making decisions better. And I leaned on education. I finished my master's. I started working for IBM, traveling around the world. My fears and insecurities never go away, but I keep challenging the norm. I keep challenging myself, because my goal is, with every situation that is painful, whether with my death threats from my father or whether now with everything we're all experiencing, I always think about, what can I do to make this make me stronger? What can I do to grow, to advance, to help other people around me as well? So, so I'm going to pause and see if you have any questions. It's online. I'm more than happy for Maurice and I to send you a link. I'm more than happy for us to have a whole session to talk about how this applies to you, because think about how we're all born with a sense that we need to be perfect. There's so many expectations, whether women or men. I have so many men that connect with the message too. But what matters is for us to start with self-discovery and continue to grow, and not allow difficult situations to smush us, or whatever that word. Instead, to build ourselves up, even if we're broken, to put the pieces together, build ourselves up, because that's what a lot of us are doing right now. So I want to see what questions you have.
Thank you so much, Dima, for sharing this story again. And I see at the background the sun is rising.
Yeah, you see, San Diego. Look how beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, you got,
So,
now it's
please,
sunny, beautiful.
if you have any questions, feel free to ask now.
Yeah, you turn darkness into light in your background. That's so good. Yes. And that's what we need to think about. Like, we are living in darkness right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear. Think about how much we're afraid. We're afraid for the most important things: health, family, money, job. All the things are being challenging us. But we need to realize, what can we do to simplify our lives? What can we do to be present, to connect with who we are? Because even though we may not want to hear it right now, there's always a lesson. There's always a lesson to make us stronger, to make us more united, and to focus on what matters the most. I know so many people, including myself before this, were constantly working. In my situation, I was traveling, giving speeches, and I was not pausing and taking care of my health. I was not pausing and giving enough time for the things that matter, because I was busy. So imagine how this is so shocking to all of us, to help us realize, take a break, focus on what matters, and whether we're forced to do it or not, we need to do it.
Beautiful, beautiful words to end this webinar. I think thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing tips, strategies. Tomorrow we have another power webinar about resilience. Dr. Elke Gerards is unfortunately it's in Dutch, but we are getting to discuss with her to also do a webinar in English at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and on Friday a new webinar with the American Dutch baseball world champion Brian Farley. Of course, how did he make it to work with a team? Nobody knew the team. We in Holland didn't even know that we had a baseball team to make such a team in 2011 world champion. I think we can learn a lot from him, and of course, very interactive. You can ask questions a lot, and well, that's all. So join us for the next webinars. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Friday, 10 o'clock. And just don't forget to sign up for that. Thank you, Dima, again. Thank you, people who joined for this webinar. And we will meet each other in one of our next webinars. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.